Yeah, I mean, usually, sometimes we have people come in late. I know I had a few messages from people saying that they had intended to come, but then something has come up. So if you can start your intro, and then as people enter, I'll sort of say to everybody to mute before we get going.
Okay, great. Okay, right. Okay, so welcome everybody, and thank you very much to Megan for inviting me to do this guest class with yourselves on Yin Yoga, which is my passion. And today the focus is going to be on two areas which most people have problems with throughout the world, and that is the low back and the shoulders. And so for this class, as Megan was checking with me, you will need to have 2 blocks and a bolster if you can, a bolster or some type of cushion that you could lean on. If you don't have a bolster, I will also give you some alternatives for Yin Yoga. And so just to get started, before we dive into the practice, I just wanted to do a little introduction, which I will continue to refer to throughout the class. The class will be 75 minutes. The first part of the class will be focusing on the lower back, and then the second part on the shoulders. So there are 2 elements I just wanted to draw your attention to, and that is, first of all, that Yin Yoga is functional. It is a functional practice. And what does that mean? That means that we focus on the function of the practice, which is looking at where we feel a stretch. So the focus is not what the pose looks like, it actually is what the pose feels like. And so that means that we consider every person's body as unique, and because every person's body is unique, we need to provide different alternatives for that pose. So you'll notice throughout the practice, I will provide at least 2 and sometimes 3 alternatives for each pose. So then you can experiment and find the pose that fits you. And so when people start with this, it's a little bit complicated to get used to, because you are used to watching the teacher, trying to copy the teacher. In this case, I give you the alternatives and I invite you to explore, because this is the great thing about Yin, that you're learning about your body, you're learning what suits you, you're not learning to copy, it's not what the pose looks like, it's how it feels. Okay, so that's the first option. And then the second thing is that Yin is mindful. And what do? We start with a breath awareness at the beginning, we end with a relaxation at the end. And why is Yin mindful? Because we stay in the poses between 2 and 5 minutes. And sometimes people, or quite often people, will say to me, the most difficult thing about Yin is not the poses, it's actually staying in the poses for such a long time. And the reason we do that is because Yin is non-muscular. So we're not focusing on activating muscles, we're focusing on relaxing muscles. So we can actually get into what is called the connective tissue. Okay? Right, so let's get started. I'm not going to continue with the speech, so let's get started. Between each pose, and when I'm advising you that we're going to move on to something else, you will hear this sound. Okay, this is a Tibetan sound. This is here to be aware that we're going to move into a new pose. Okay, so if you could all just deactivate your microphones, your audio, and if, however, you have any questions during the class, please let me know. But afterwards, if you have questions or doubts about anything, then just, you can tell me at the end. I'd love to get some feedback from you. Okay, so if you have a bolster or a cushion, could you grab that now and sit on it? And we're going to start this practice by a focus on the breath. A simple focus on the breath. And I'll be doing a technique, a very simple technique, just to bring your awareness to. So if you could just come to a position where we feel that the spine is long, the arms are relaxed, and the hands are not clenching the knees. And what I'd like you to do now is just to focus on your breath. Notice your breath. It's possible that your breath is quick. Perhaps you've just come from doing something and you're breathing very much up in your chest. What we'll be doing throughout this practice is continually bringing the attention back to the breath. Because the slower and the deeper the breath, the calmer we feel. And now I invite you to bring your hands to around your navel area. And we're going to do a technique where we inhale for 4 and then exhale for 4. And we'll do 3 rounds of that. So let's just exhale completely. And then inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. I invite you to continue if you like, 2 more rounds. And when you finish those rounds, just place your hands on your knees and notice the effect of this breathing technique on your body and on your breath. Now let's slowly open our eyes and move yourself off the bolster. And we're going to move into the first pose. So come lying on your back. And bend your knees, bring your knees up towards your chest. And here we have the alternative.
So I'm doing yoga. I'm doing.
There you go. Okay, so we have two alternatives. Alternative one, bring your knees towards your chest. If this is not accessible for you or not comfortable, you can also open your knees. And in this way, you are getting a nice opening for the hips. Yeah, so alternative one, alternative two. Experiment and find which option works for you. And then we'll be here for 3 minutes. So this option is called the reclining child's pose. And if you're familiar with yoga, which I'm sure all of you are, I'm sure you know the child's pose, which is one of the most restorative poses in yoga. But sometimes when people do this pose, it's uncomfortable for their knees, uncomfortable for the tops of their feet, and perhaps even uncomfortable for their stomach. So the advantage of doing this pose is that we get the full benefits of this pose without the discomfort. So here the target area will just basically be feeling a nice stretch in the lower back, a relaxation there, because the spine is neutral. If you have your knees closed, there's a really nice compression on your stomach and the internal organs, which is great for digestion. So if you ever have any problems, cramps for whatever reason, and you sit or you lie in this position, it's very restorative and it should really help with the cramps. And if you have your knees open, it's a nice way to work on hip opening. So now connecting with your breath, feeling your body relax. Now just slowly bring your legs down. And we're now going to move into the next pose. But before we do so, we're just going to lie here for a moment in what we call the rebound pose. The rebound is what we often have between poses. And the reason is because in yin, as I mentioned, we are working on stretching connective tissue. And often we feel the effect of this stretch after the pose. We could feel it as a warm sensation, as a cooling sensation. And we can also feel it as something emotional. Okay, so we're going to move now to the second pose, and the second one is called half happy baby. So I'm going to start with my left leg, and I will show you three options with this pose. So option one, bend your left leg and hold onto the knee or hold onto the shin, whichever is comfortable for you. Option one. Option two, lift your foot, hold onto your toe, bringing down your knee. Or option three, hold onto the outside of your left foot, bringing it down. So I invite you to choose whichever option works for you, and we'll be here for 5 minutes. As we're going to be here for 5 minutes, what I would suggest you do is not to take the most aggressive option. Perhaps it's easy for you to go like this, but perhaps start with holding onto your knee. The reason I say this is because in yin, we are not looking for going all the way, because yin is about stretching connective tissue, and connective tissue is tissue in the body which is not very flexible. That is why we need to go gently and slowly. If we go too aggressively, we might have to move out of the pose because the body does not like to be for a long time in an aggressive pose. But what you'll notice is if you move in slowly, the tension in your body perhaps starts to dissipate as your body relaxes, and then you may be able to move deeper into the pose. But remember, that is not the function. The function here is two things. First of all, do you feel some kind of opening in your hips? So particularly around the quadriceps. And do you feel a stretch in the bottom leg, the muscles we call the hip flexors that go from the pelvis to the legs? If you don't feel that, you could perhaps bring your leg up and see if you feel a little bit more of stretch. So this is the perfect opportunity just to notice how your body is reacting to this pose. Perhaps you've done something similar in Hatha yoga, but usually when we do poses in Hatha or other types of yoga, we don't stay for a long time because the idea of other types of yoga is engaging and working with the muscles, repetitive activity. The muscles get full of blood, they are elastic. But with yin, we need to go slowly to be able to get into connective tissue, particularly around the joints. And effectively what we are doing is we are lubricating the joints basically. And that leads to greater flexibility and greater mobility. And mobility is what we all need. And flexibility to be able to bend down and pick something up from the floor. So slowly bring your leg down. And I invite you just to notice the sensations in your leg. Where do you feel the sensations? How does it feel? And now let's move to the other side. So bending your right leg this time and starting off just bringing your knee to the side. If you just show you from this side. So I'm not bringing my knee to my chest. I'm bringing it to the side of my chest. Yeah, so it's different to what we were doing before. Let me just show you. Looks a bit strange. So I don't bring my knee to my chest. I bring it to the side. Yeah, because then we feel a stretch here in the groin area. And the stretch is here in the hip flexors. Okay, so I hope that's clearer now. And remember, we can start off in this pose, in this alternative, or we can stay here the whole time. Once again, choosing the option that suits you. So if you notice or you are thinking, oh, how can I stay here for such a long time? This is so boring. What I invite you to do is to spend the rest of the practice on two areas, working on two areas. And one area would be focusing your mind on your breath. And maybe that's not enough for you. So what you could do is you could return to the breath awareness practice we did at the beginning, where you count 4 on the inhale and 4 on the exhale. And you continue like that throughout the practice. And why do I say this? Because breath is yoga. Breath is what anchors everything that we do, particularly our mind. You will always notice if your mind is busy, occupied, worried, it's often because your breath is worried, your breath is quick. And so by calming our breath, we are calming that busy mind that doesn't want to stop. Because it is afraid of relaxing, basically. And we all need not just to relax our body, but we need to relax our mind. We are overstimulated every day with too many images on the television, on Facebook. We are saturated. And if we can't relax, even when we are doing yoga, then the poor little mind never gets a break. So I invite you just to try this first option. Just focusing, counting your breath to 4 on the inhale and 4 on the exhale. Now slowly bring your leg down. Once again, relaxing. And here, I encourage you to notice if you feel any differences between the two sides. Remember, we are all not just different in our bodies from other people, but within our bodies, we are not the same. So the structure of the bones and the tissues on one side is different to the other side. So you may feel differences when you do the poses, but you will notice more when you do yin, because we often don't have time to notice when we do other types of yoga. Okay, right, so if we could just move yourself onto your stomach now, you come sitting up and come down onto your stomach, turn yourself around onto your stomach. And I would like to invite you to explore various options. So option one is basically lying on your stomach with your head on your hands. So this is the gentlest of these different options. If this is enough for you, then you can stay here. This is a slight back bend, a very small back bend. Option two would be coming up onto your elbows. So your elbows are just in front of your shoulders. Option three, the elbows are underneath your shoulders. And then if you have a bolster and you're feeling like you need a little bit more of something, then you can come up onto your bolster. I would encourage you to start with your elbows underneath your shoulders, and above all, check in with your lower back. So remember that this is not a yang practice, this is a yin practice. So when you check in with your lower back, check in that the muscles around your lower back are relaxed, because that's what we're looking at. We are looking at, it's a slight compression, we are toning the lower back. But if there's any pain, and when I say pain, I mean a stabbing pain, an uncomfortable feeling, perhaps you know you have lumbar pain issues, then I would encourage you to move your elbows a little bit more forward. So in this pose, which is called the Sphinx, what we are doing is we are opening up the front of the body. And when we open up the front of the body, we are freeing up the diaphragm, which is the muscle that helps us to breathe. Because all day, many of us are sitting in front of a computer and we are sitting badly. We are compressing the diaphragm, so we are not breathing properly. And with this pose, we begin what we're going to continue for the rest of the class, which is opening up and releasing tension in the shoulders, and particularly in the chest area. Once again, if you find your mind wandering, focus on your breathing. You may be able to notice your breath as the abdomen is moving against the mat. And then the second thing you could focus on, if you find that breathing is not accessible, the counting is not working for you, is I would encourage you to focus on your sensations, the sensations in your body. How does it feel in your body? Become a scientist. Observe what's happening in your body. Remember, yin is not a restorative practice. Yin is supposed to be uncomfortable. So if you are feeling that this pose is not doing anything for you, you don't feel anything, then perhaps you need to put yourself up onto a bolster so you can feel more of a stretch. Otherwise, observing how your body started, how your body felt when you started this posture, and how it feels now. Does it feel different? How does it feel different? Now slowly bring your head down to the mat. Make a pillow with your hands and lean your head on your hands. If you like, you can bend your left knee looking in the same direction as your left knee. And we're just going to relax here for a minute on each side. Relax your shoulders, relax your arms, and notice how your lower back relaxes as well. Now straighten that leg and turn your head to the other side and bend the other knee. Now slowly straighten that leg. And if you could just push yourself to a seated position. Okay, so from here we're going to move to what is called eagle arms. And for eagle arms, I'm going to give you two options. So option one, take your right hand, your right arm, and place it over your left arm. And see if you can bring your hands touching the insides of your shoulder blades. Okay, so let me show you from this side. Yeah, so can your fingertips touch the insides of your shoulder blades? If they can't, and if it's if it's complicated for you, then you're just going to stay in alternative 1. Okay, so you're just going to stay here. This is what I call the hugging position. Okay, and so if this is accessible for you, option 2 would be to simply move your arms like that. Okay, this is what we call eagle arms. And then option 3, if you're feeling very adventurous, you wrap around your palms like this. Okay, so what I would encourage you to do is not to try to go to the most extreme version of the posture. If you can grab onto your shoulder blades, or maybe you can't, then just stay here, because all the options are valid, right? I don't want you to dive into something which is actually going to be painful, because we're going to stay here for 3 minutes. So we need to find an option that works for your body. Okay, so option 1, option 2, and option 3. Of all the options, what I would suggest to you is, please, when you're doing it, make sure that you have your elbows in front of you, that I'm not like this. Yeah, sometimes people feel, oh, I need to do it, I need to do it. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to open up the chest. If we are struggling to do this so much that we are going down, then we are losing the point. Yeah, so starting like this, if that's comfortable for you, I'm going to stay here for 3 minutes. Okay, right. And then the other thing I would like to suggest is your abdomen. Keep the abdomen, the abdominal muscles, keep them strong. So you can feel your spine lifting. This is going to ensure that your breathing, that your diaphragm is liberated, it's free, so it can breathe properly. And from here, I'm sure you could all spend time focusing on the sensations you have in your body. Particularly, what we are focusing on here is the shoulders. And I'm sure you notice that the shoulder blades are being pulled apart. And this is a wonderful way to release tension in the shoulders, particularly this area of the shoulder blades. So we have 1 more minute to go. If you feel any pain, please release the position. But remember, as I said, the focus is on feeling the stretch and noticing. And now slowly bring your arms down and rest on your knees. Close your eyes and just notice how it feels. Okay, so you're ready for the other side? So this time we have the left arm on top and hugging ourselves. Yeah, so as I mentioned before, if you're going to hug yourself, make sure your arms are down here, that you lift your arms to a position that is comfortable. I have some students that find it quite uncomfortable to be up. So if you find that the case, just go to the position which is comfortable for you, but try not to round your back. The idea is to open up that space. Okay, so we'll be here for 3 minutes. Of course, as I mentioned before, if this is uncomfortable for you at any stage, please don't stay there just because you feel you need to stay. It's important to, above all in yin, to listen to your body. Because we have the time. We have the time to listen and observe what's happening in our body. I can see a cat walking around. I can also see a dog. I love all the animals in different people's houses. I think the cats seem to love yoga more than the dogs. That's great. So as I mentioned before, we can focus on again noticing the differences in this side. Perhaps you have one shoulder that is tighter than the other shoulder. And when we do these poses, we can notice them. Focusing on the breathing, ensuring that the abdomen is activated to make sure that the spine is long. Okay, now slowly bring those arms down. Phew. And relax. So now next time someone tells you that yin is easy, then you can reflect that no, you don't think it's that easy. It is challenging. It's a challenging pose, challenging practice, but it's also very rewarding and restorative and healing. Okay, so let's move to the next one, and this one continues with the opening of the shoulders. I'm just a bit worried about my mobile phone because it looks like it's going to slip off. Sorry a moment, I'm just going to check. Yeah, that's fine. It looks like I'm going to disappear soon. Okay, so let's move now to the next one. In this pose, we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So we have 3 options. Option 1, bring your arms behind you and clasp your forearms, like I'm doing here. So clasp your forearms and check in. How does that feel? Does that feel okay? If it feels accessible, bring your hands to your elbows and see if you can clasp your elbows. And then if you think, okay, that's fine for me, then the last one is the reverse prayer position. Okay, so for all of these, what I would suggest is don't go for the pose which is going to be the most intense. As I said to you before, we are going to be here for 5 minutes. So if you choose the option which is the most intense, before 5 minutes you'll have to come out because your muscles will start to contract and you will need to move out. Okay, so I encourage you to start going into this slowly. Okay, right, so let's start. Arms behind you, and then once again, avoid the temptation of struggling with the pose so much that you're going to be doing this. Yeah, I prefer you to be with the first option of the pose, feel the shoulders back, and now you can feel that what we call the muscles between the shoulder blades are relaxed. And this is a fantastic position, especially if you are concerned with improving your posture. If you feel your posture is not very good, just doing this pose once a day not only improves your posture, but it helps relax tension, take away tension from the shoulders. And then if you manage to get into the reverse prayer position, if you type a lot, this actually helps with your wrist tendons. Because when we are typing, we don't think about it, but we're using our wrists a lot. And in this pose, we are working on the wrist tendons as well. It's just an added benefit if you can get to this pose. Wherever you are, making sure, once again, the abdomen is active. And you should be feeling by now how your chest is open. And if you feel your energy or your thoughts wandering off, bring your attention either to the sensations in your body or to the counting. Inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4. And take this moment to enjoy perhaps the only time in the day that you're not being stimulated by something. You are simply sitting with you, with your body, with your breath. And just enjoy this moment. Enjoy this moment of treating yourself, exploring and learning about your body, and particularly this connection with the breath. Such a simple but such a vital element of our practice, of our daily life that we forget about. So just take this moment to remind yourself of the importance not only of breathing, but also taking time off every day. We don't have to do yoga every day, that would be great, but if we don't have time, at least we could sit somewhere and focus on our breathing, even if we have just 5 minutes. Now slowly bring your arms down and let's relax. So notice how that is feeling now. Your whole shoulder area should be feeling very open, very relaxed. And we're going to move now to one of my all-time favorites for opening, continuing to open up all that front part of the body. And here I'm going to give you 2 alternatives. So for those of you who don't have a bolster, I'm going to start with 2 blocks. I'm going to show you how to do it with 2 blocks. And then also if you have a bolster. Okay, so let me start with the bolster. Actually, I think that's the easiest. So I'm going to put the bolster behind me and legs straight out and coming down onto the bolster with my head. It's really important that my head is on the bolster. And here I'm going to have my arms out and relax. So that's option 1. And if you have blocks, I actually prefer the blocks because the blocks are basically between your shoulder blades and they give you the opportunity to really get into that relaxation. So place the blocks in a T shape. The lengthways is for your head and the long ways is for your shoulder blades. When you start off with it, it could be quite uncomfortable to find the right position, but once you found it, it's absolutely fantastic. So just experiment a little, see how it feels. Remember, the block should be around where your bra strap is, if you have the block. And then you come down and your head is on the block and your arms are by your side. And so this is called the reclining fish or the supported fish. And here is the quintessential pose for opening up the chest. And here what we are doing is we are stretching muscles in the chest, in the abdomen, in the shoulders. And the arms are relaxed. And the shoulders are relaxed. And as your head is back, you are stimulating your thyroid. So if you have thyroid issues, this is great. Stimulation of the thyroid. And in addition, once again, the diaphragm has been freed up. So you should feel opportunity for deep and restorative breathing. As I mentioned at the beginning, yin is a mindful practice. the benefits we get from it are through connecting with that deep, slow breathing, which helps to calm not only our body, to help us to release tension on the body. Because remember, a lot of tension is emotional. It's not just what we've been doing with our body. When we are upset or angry or stressed, the emotions remain within our body. They are tangled up in the body. And by focusing on this relaxation, we are slowly stretching out that tension, stretching out the knots. Through the nourishing breathing that our body and our mind need so much. And now very slowly just push yourself onto the side. Take away the bolsters or the blocks. And just lie down, just so we can notice the effect on your body. Once again, in the rebound pose. Okay, so let's move now to the last pair of poses. And this one is a reclining twist. So let me show you options. So option one, bend your knees, bring them towards you. Straighten out your arms, or you can have your arms in a cactus position. And then bring your knees to the side. What I often suggest is to have a block so your knees can come onto the block. And just a reminder here, if you bring your knees closer up to the chest and then to the side, the twist will be more in the upper back. The lower down you bring your knees, the twist will be more in your lower back. So it's up to you. You can experiment which one feels better for you. Okay, so we're going to be here for 3 minutes on each side. So experiment, I would suggest starting with a block. The reason is that if we have a block, we avoid the other shoulder from lifting up. The shoulders, try to keep the shoulders on the mat. They shouldn't lift off. And if they lift off, then just use a block or blocks. You can look in the same direction as your knees or the other way. If you look the other way, it's a nice stretch for your neck. And so why do we do twists? Well, essentially to release tension in the spine. And we often do twists at the end of the practice. And of course, twists, as we can feel, we are compressing and twisting the internal organs, which also help with digestion. And once again, across the shoulders, we have that nice stretch across the shoulders. Hopefully the shoulders are feeling more relaxed now. Less tension. Now slowly bring those knees up and hug your knees into your chest. And now let's move to the other side. So bring your block to the other side and move your knees to the other side. The arms open or in the cactus position, whichever feels better for you. And slowly moving the knees over to the side. You could feel that this side is a little more tense. Sometimes that happens. Try to relax your shoulders, relax your arms. Notice the effect of the twist on your body. Now slowly bring your knees to your chest and hug them. Just relaxing the lumbar spine here. Make sure your lower back is imprinted on the mat. So we return to the neutral spine, breathing gently. And now we've come to the final relaxation. So if you have a blanket or something like that you'd like to cover yourself with, if you're in a cold place like I am in Granada, it's freezing. So I'm going to cover myself. We're going to be here for 5 minutes. And we always suggest when you do yin, always to relax. And actually in many other practices of yoga as well, the idea is to relax. And I will talk you through a little bit the relaxation that then let you relax on your own. So bring yourself to a position where you are lying with your legs open, your palms facing the ceiling. Basically, because in this way we are relaxing the muscles between the shoulder blades, similar to what we did in the last pose with the shoulders. We have the arms behind us. So what I'd like you to do is just notice your breathing. Try to remember how your breathing was when you started. Perhaps you have become a little more aware of your breathing. And now, because of the different areas of this practice that we've covered during the sequence, I'm going to start with your head. I'd like you just to shift your head just to make sure it feels like it's comfortable. Then bring your attention to your brain. Feel it relaxing. Relax the muscles in your face. Perhaps open your mouth slightly. Bring your awareness down your throat. Feel it opening up. And then down to the shoulders, which we've been working on a lot today. Hopefully you can notice less tension there now, less tightness. Notice your ribs moving as you breathe. Perhaps you feel an openness there, because now the diaphragm has been working efficiently, bringing oxygen to the different parts of the body. Nourishing your body. Move down to your abdomen. Notice the abdomen rising and falling as you breathe. And then moving to the pelvis. Slowly down the legs, to the knees, down to your feet, and eventually your toes. Just feel your whole body relaxing and heavy. Okay, so slowly start to move your fingers and toes. Make circles with your ankles, circles with your wrists. And then close your legs. Bring your arms above your head. Give yourself a nice stretch. And bring the arms down. Bend your knees. Allow your knees to fall to one side. And then push yourself into a seated position. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. If this is the first time you've done yin, congratulations. I hope you didn't find it too strange or weird or boring or whatever it was.